Namaste. Welcome to the 8th season of Youth TV show. Our guest for today's episode of Inspiring Women is Carmen Berry. She's the co-founder of Profitable Authors Institute in the United States.
I started out as a social worker, and I worked with children who had been abused by their families, and I didn't last very long. It was very, very hard work. So after 4 years, I burnt out, and I fell apart. I was depressed. I had panic attacks. I was really not in very good shape. But I watched myself and what was happening to me. So then I wrote it down and I was able to get a book contract. So I took my failure, my disappointments, and I began a new life. So the new life was me as a writer helping other people who were also burning out and weren't taking care of themselves.
We all know that you coach young writers, so would you tell us more about the experience and the methodology of coaching?
It's sort of like therapy, and I was trained as a therapist, but basically you find out what the person wants to say, and you probably have a special message or something you want to say, so I help you find that and then put it in the right format. Sometimes you might want to write a memoir, which would be about your life, a story, a part of your life, or you might want to write a self-help book. And that's where you would say, these are my 5 insights, and then you use your story to illustrate. So I work with the authors to find their message, and then how to put it in the right words that reflect their heart.
What do you consider to be a major turning point of your career?
Well, the first major turning point of my career was to become an author. It was very, very hard when I started to get published because the publishing houses had all the power and they would only pick a few people who could become authors. And it took me 2 years of hard work to get a contract. I think the next turning point in my career was to be on the television show Oprah, and she is magic. So I had written a book with a friend of mine about women's friendships called Girlfriends, and that went to the New York Times bestseller list. So that was a big turning point. The third turning point was the internet, and changed publishing completely.
Who are your role models and inspirations?
My role models are people who have struggled and then have overcome. One of my role models is Santosh Shah. I see how he keeps going, and he may try one thing, it may work okay, or another thing, but he never stops. If you give up, you will lose. But if you keep trying, you cannot lose, because you are always getting better and better at what you do.
By now you have experienced life than your 20-year-old version, and you have written stories on different lives. So what would be a key message to your 20-year-old self? Did your 20-year-old self ever think of who you are now?
My 20-year-old self did not see any of my life like this. I thought I would become a social worker and then I would just work with children. And then I found out that it was just too hard for my emotions. I felt like a failure because that had been my dream. But then I realized that there are many, many ways to succeed. So I took my failure. So I would tell my 20-year-old self to relax a little. It's okay. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything perfectly and get everything right. Because when you are giving your best to the world, then nothing is wasted.
How had your job as a psychotherapist helped you in writing?
My job as a psychotherapist helped me a lot because I was trained to listen and to understand and support. And so when I'm coaching people to write, I know how to listen and ask them the right questions so I can get the real message out of them. So I don't provide therapy, I don't fix them, I don't solve their problems, but I help them figure out what their message is.
Having wives to do something due to circumstances might not always be logical. How did you mentally prepare yourself to do so?
I don't think I prepared myself. I think I got into situations, and in a dark, dark moment, each person has to decide, am I going to become bitter and angry and blaming people? Or am I going to take responsibility and solve my problem and get help? So I think every time you have a difficult moment, you make a decision. And you can look around and you see a lot of people are bitter and angry, and they blame other groups of people or other individuals. And those people, their lives get smaller and smaller and smaller. But if you look at this and say, okay, this person wronged me, but I can accept that, and I can maybe forgive them now, maybe later, but I'm not worried. I'm going to solve the problem, and I'm going to have a bigger life. I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to bring more people into my life who can help me. And those type of people have bigger and bigger and bigger lives. I learned that over life. I don't think I ever prepared for that.
Because a book seems to be your best friend, did you ever feel that you were a bit detached from society and ever demotivated in any point of your life?
I have a real strong desire to help people and to achieve. I would be disappointed in myself if I didn't want to keep going. Although there have been times when I felt like I wanted to give up, but there was always something or somebody who has come into my life to help me. So I have learned that over the years, that I am less anxious now. I used to be very nervous, trying to make everything right. But I have learned that I can't control it, and that I have to rely on other people, and I have to rely on God.
You said that you write books about self-help, and there are lots of youths right now who need self-help. Do you recommend some simple steps to start before the long journey for them?
Yes, I think the first step in any career or any phase of life is to not look at what you don't have. Don't look at what you need, but look at what you already have. When you think about all you don't have, then your mind shuts down and your body shuts down and you get adrenaline. But if you look at, I have this big treasure, I have all these friends, and it's so easy. You just do a little bit more and a little bit more. But I think you need to start with looking at what you have and being grateful, and then you just expand, and that's easy.
Success demands its own price. So do you think ever success have demanded something with you as well?
I don't think so. I think that life demands something from me. Being alive and being a person that grows, that is the challenge. Success is good, but you have to be ready. There are some people that think, oh, I don't really deserve this success, so they come back. But if you feel you deserve the success, then you should enjoy it and learn from it and be happy.
How you would like to motivate a youth like us who is in their growing phase of writing career?
I would say that the important thing for you to do is know yourself and learn how to put what your thoughts and feelings are into words. When I first wrote, most people read at a 9th grade level. And my first book was written at a college level, and they said, nobody will read that. You must turn the words down to 9th grade. And it was like I had to interpret my professional ideas into language that your average person could read. But because of the internet and people are reading such short Twitter and Instagram, now we write at a 6th grade level. And so when you do your writing and you're going to publish, make sure that the language is easy and the sentences are short. So the more precise and simple and clear you can be, the better your writing will be and people will read it.
Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
I may be here. I might move to Nepal. My daughter, she was born in 2004, and I had a very, very hard time with the Nepali government going through that. So it took 2 years, and I moved here. I lived here for about 1.5 years. And I have been concentrating on being a mother and raising her. But since she is 13, she will be going to college. I will have different kind of freedom. And so I hope that I am writing and maybe doing something here.
How did your own books help in molding your practical life?
I read my first book and I think, oh, I had so many good ideas, but they're hard to do. So I could read my own books and say, oh, I need to learn that lesson again. But I think it has helped me understand my life. A writer's life is one where you reflect and you observe and you put it into words. So I also recommend that you get a good support group, a writer's group or other people who will help you to say your message. So you need more support than just being alone.
Do you have any message for aspiring women writers?
In every culture, men have most of the power. And we have a choice to either be angry about that or to change it. And you must believe that you are as good as anyone. You know, be careful. Don't put yourself in dangerous situations. But believe in yourself and choose to create and include and bring more people in. Just keep going and follow your dream and never give up.
Carmen ma'am, thank you for inspiring us and sharing your insights with us. We will be back next week with a new episode of Youth TV Show. Until then, have a great week ahead. Namaste.